What's going on, y'all? This is Damien with the DevSec Blueprint, and in today's video, I'm going to give you guys some tips and tricks on how to pass the AWS Certified Solutions Architect Associate. This is AWS's most popular exam and is what I would consider the entry-level certification for aspiring cloud engineers. As someone who has gotten certified and has had this certification for the past few years and is actively leveraging and using the key services day in and day out, I intend to give y'all some really good insights on how to effectively pass this exam. So without further ado, let's get right into it. All right, so before we get into actually explaining the exam and everything else that comes right along with it, I highly recommend you look into taking the AWS Certified Cloud Practitioner exam. This exam itself will help you understand the foundational concepts of each AWS service. Although not required, being familiar with basic programming or coding concepts as well will be advantageous for you when you take this exam. So now that we've covered the prerequisites, let's talk a little bit about the exam and the exam guide. All right, so the AWS Certified Solutions Architect Associate, as it states here on Amazon's website, showcases knowledge and skills in AWS technology across a wide range of AWS services. So the focus of that certification, or this particular one, is on the design of cost and performance optimized solutions, which when you take it and you pass it will demonstrate a strong understanding of the AWS Well Architected framework and various different other frameworks and white papers that they will have that you will read. So who should take this exam, right? So the AWS Certified Solutions Architect Associate is a great starting point on the AWS certification path for individuals who have any of the following. So you have experience in AWS technology, you have a strong on-premises IT experience and understanding of mapping on-premises to the cloud, or you have experience working with other CSPs or cloud service providers. So the key thing about this certification, when you take it and you start studying for it, you'll really learn how to create robust and fault-tolerant and scalable solutions leveraging or using the AWS services that are covered for this exam. You also learn a lot about the AWS CLI, the management console, and you'll learn a lot about networking, some of the security services, and also the global infrastructure. This exam is an associate level exam. On top of that, it's about 130 minutes to complete the exam. So it's roughly about 2 hours and 10 minutes. The cost is 150 USD. The format is 65 questions, either multiple choice or multiple response. And then, of course, if you wish to take it in a testing center, you can, as long as they have Pearson VUE, or you can take it online at home. So as far as the exam guide is concerned, this is essentially where you would get a more in-depth description of the type of exam that you're about to be studying for. So essentially it just tells you, for example, it gives you an introduction of what the exam is and, what this exam is going to validate as far as your ability to be able to complete tasks within AWS. In addition to that, it's going to give you a good understanding of like how the exam is scored, when you should receive the results, what type of score is needed for you to be able to pass, which is a 720. In addition to that, it's going to give you the content outline as far as all the various different domains that are going to be mentioned or defined on the exam. So you have four different domains for this exam. The first domain is design secure architectures, and it's weighted about 30% of the exam. The second domain is design resilient architectures, which is 26% of the exam, or 26% of scored content. Domain 3 is design high performing architectures, which is 24%. And then domain 4 is design cost optimized architectures, which is 20%. I'm not going to dive too much into all of the different types of like skills within each domain and the knowledge that you're expected to have within each domain. The key thing is that, of course, you guys are going to go through this when you start to study for this exam. The thing that I want to highlight, which is going to be towards the very bottom, is that every exam guide that AWS creates for their certification exams is going to give you a list of in-scope AWS services and features and out-of-scope AWS services and features, as you can see here. And that, in a sense, concludes the exam guide and what it is that I wanted to call out that was important for you guys. All right, so now that we've covered the exam and some of its details with an exam guide, let's talk about the resources I recommend you all use. To start, I would encourage you to use Stefan Mark's Ultimate AWS Certified Solutions Architect Associate course to study for this exam. The good thing about Stefan is that he's really good at breaking down concepts in a way that anyone can truly understand the intricacies of each service without all the technical jargon and complexity. The beautiful thing about his courses is that he also calls out some of the services that just might appear on the exam. This course is published on Udemy and includes well over 340 lectures, making it about 27 hours long, and he will also provide hands-on labs during the course. Be warned though, you will pay a little bit of money if you spin up some of these resources in your own AWS account when you participate in the hands-on exercises or labs. So be sure to terminate them when you're done, and don't be like me and have a crazy bill. In addition to Stefan's course, I would also recommend purchasing Tutorial Dojo's practice exams to reinforce your knowledge. These practice exams are quite similar, if not more difficult than the actual exam. Along with the practice exams, you should also look into reviewing the free cheat sheets that they have available. These cheat sheets are super invaluable because they are extremely detailed yet concise in nature, which helps you fill in the gaps within your knowledge for each service, which is amazing. And lastly, to help you hone your practical knowledge and increase your skills within AWS, I recommend you use Wiz Labs to help reinforce that theoretical knowledge that you obtain by practicing and doing labs specific to the Solutions Architect exam. There are about 101 hands-on labs, and the cost for these labs is $55.95 USD. But if you're lucky, you can catch a sale on the lab content, so be sure to look out for that. So when I was studying for this exam using the resources I mentioned earlier, I spent about 2 hours each workday and spent between 2 to 4 hours on weekends studying. I did this until I finished Stefan's course, took notes, and referenced the cheat sheets for about a month or so while I was taking those notes. Once I completed his course, I started taking the Tutorial Dojo's practice exams and started doing labs using Wiz Labs to help reinforce that theoretical knowledge that I've gained from taking Stefan's course. The rule of thumb is to consistently score 80s before you sit for the exam, but in my case, I took the practice exams until I consistently scored between the 70s and 80s, and the strategy itself ultimately worked for me. So if you're constantly scoring under 85% when you're scheduled to sit for the exam within a week's time, I would encourage you to reschedule it and push it 2 to 3 weeks out so that you can focus on filling in your knowledge gaps, using the cheat sheets, and retaking the practice exams. Now, while you're studying and before you sit for the exam, I would highly recommend you take a look at the following services that I'm about to call out based on my experience and research. VPC, or Virtual Private Cloud, S3, IAM, AWS Storage Gateway, EC2, EC2 Autoscaling, CloudFormation, AWS Lambda, SQS, SNS, GuardDuty, Shield, Kinesis Data Streams, and Kinesis Firehose, Step Functions, Cost Explorer, RDS, and DynamoDB. And that wraps up this video, y'all. Thank you so much for your support, and I hope you were able to take away some valuable insights on how to pass the AWS Solutions Architect Associate. If you found this video helpful at all during your journey, please make sure you like, subscribe, and share with your friends or someone who you think might benefit from this video. Do note that everything that I've spoken about and that we've talked about that is important or was mentioned, except for the list of key services, is located in the description. Again, thank you guys again for tuning in, and I cannot wait to see y'all in the next video. Later.